Today we're going to discuss exploring UDL even further. And so we're going to begin by looking at what is happening with UDL and how it is completely different from the traditional. In a traditional course, it is basically teacher-led, but when we talk about UDL, we begin to look at it from the perspective of the student and how the student learns. And it's not so much about the information, but about the process of learning that information. And let's look at it further. Constructivism. 3 key tenets we want to look at here. First of all, constructive activity, and then teacher-led interaction, and finally, social activity. We're going to look at each of these in depth and see what we can learn and how that relates to UDL. When we look at constructive activity, we're dealing with the cognitive part of learning and how we actually think and process information as students. And so everything about constructive activity is cognitive. Let's look at the 5 parts of constructive activity. First of all, there's learning to learn, and then authenticity, multiple perspectives, in-depth learning, and finally prior knowledge. Each of these are equally important for constructive activity. The second part of constructivism that we want to look at is teacher-student interaction. The teacher must take an active role as an expert facilitator, but the student must take an active role in learning as well as regulating his or her learning process. And now we'll talk about social activity. Social activity has 3 parts. It's cooperative in nature, it's collaborative learning with others, and finally there's mutual engagement by all who are working on the project or the learning experience. Diversity, very important with UDL. Let's look at the higher education campus. Retainment and recruiting, campus climate, curriculum and instruction, research, inquiry, relations and discourse. These are the first 5. The next 5 areas of diversity in higher ed are the development and success of programs and people, non-discrimination of all, institutional advancement, external relations with others, and finally strategic planning, and of course, accountability. As we look at creating learning experiences for our students, we really need to think about embracing the ideology of UDL, all of its tenets and principles, because making learning universal makes learning effective for all.